Tonight, we're not just bending time, we're questioning if it ever existed at all. Because what if every second you've ever lived, every memory, every heartbeat, every now was never real? What if it was only a story your brain tells you to stay sane? Outside, a clock ticks. It claims to be marking something absolute, seconds, minutes, hours. But listen closely. That sound isn't the universe keeping score. It's you convincing yourself that something called time is moving forward. But the cosmos doesn't know what Wednesday is. The universe doesn't even own a clock. So, before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video, but only if you truly want to slow down time with me tonight. Now breathe. Let the world outside fade. Let's fall through the illusion together. The second hand moves. You imagine reality moving with it. But here's the secret. Nothing moves. You do. The earth spins, drifts, wobbles. But the idea of movement through time, that's you dragging your consciousness through a slideshow the universe doesn't care about. You glance at the digits glowing beside you, 11:04 p.m. But somewhere else it's already tomorrow. And somewhere deeper, inside a black hole, tomorrow doesn't exist at all. Time isn't universal, it's personal, maybe even optional. Once, there was a moment in human history when no one could be late. No clocks, no hours, no schedules. Only rhythm, sunrise, hunger, sleep. You woke with the light, rested with the dark. Winter wasn't December. It was a feeling. The smell of cold wood, the ache in your bones, the hush before snowfall. Life wasn't broken into hours. It was continuous, like breathing. Then something happened. Humans began to measure. And once you measure something, you control it. The first timekeepers weren't made of gears or springs. They were carved from fear. Fear of floods, of dying crops, of gods who slept too long. The first clock was a ritual, not a mechanism, a prayer disguised as precision. And in that moment, the lie was born. Time began as faith. 30,000 years ago, a hunter carved notches into bone to track the moon cycles. You can almost feel his fingers counting, not days, but hope. Hope that the world still moves in circles. Then blink, and it's Egypt. The Nile flows. Priests rise before dawn to watch shadows slide along temple walls. The kingdom's survival depends on those shadows. And when a shadow moves, the people whisper, "The gods are awake." But the shadow doesn't move. The earth does. And the priest isn't measuring divinity. He's measuring rotation. That's the first secret of time. It's always been a power play dressed as order. Control the calendar, control the people. Tell a farmer when to sow, a soldier when to march, a peasant when to pray, and they will obey the clock as if it were holy. You look at your own screen again, 12:03 a.m. The modern priest is your phone. Its blue glow replaces the temple flame. You check it just to feel synced with something greater than yourself. But something feels off. You don't feel time the way you read it. 5 minutes on a treadmill feels eternal. 5 minutes in love vanish. That's not the behavior of a universal constant. That's psychology pretending to be physics. Neuroscientists now whisper that time is prediction. Your brain constantly guessing what comes next, updating the illusion of continuity. Without memory, there's no past. Without imagination, there's no future. And now, just the handshake between the two. Try it. Feel time pass. You can't. There's no texture, no color, no sound. Only events have substance. Strip them away, and what's left? Just awareness. Just you, watching your own mind tick. You can measure time endlessly, but you'll never touch it. You can kill it, waste it, save it, but you'll never find its corpse. So maybe the greatest trick humanity ever fell for wasn't money or religion or love. Maybe it was time. You stare at the clock again, 12:09 a.m. The numbers glow with quiet arrogance. But maybe, just maybe, that display isn't measuring the universe. It's measuring your obedience to it.
The night stretches endlessly. No buzzing phones, no deadlines, just sand, stars, and silence. And for the first time, you feel it. The raw stillness before humanity decided to number the infinite. When time was born, it wasn't a spark. It was a slow domestication of chaos. Early humans didn't count days, they remembered them. A migration, a flood, a season of warmth. Then memory became record, and record became rule. You crouch beside a stone as someone scratches a fresh mark into it. It's 10,000 years ago. That mark means sunrise, the return of warmth, light, predictability. Each line carved into that rock says the same thing. This happened before. It will happen again. That's what time really is. Pattern pretending to be permanent. Then in Mesopotamia, the Sumerians took it further. They looked at the moon and thought, let's count that. 30 days, 12 months, 60 minutes in an hour. Why 60? Because 60 is divine, divisible by so many numbers, smooth, perfect. Their math became a myth. Their myth became a system. And suddenly, the heavens weren't gods. They were management. You walk through Babylon as astronomer priests climb ziggurats to track the stars. Each flicker of light means a god's will. Each shift in the sky is a divine schedule. The stars become spreadsheets. Then the Egyptians add their own equation, the Nile. Every year the river floods, sometimes early, sometimes late. Predict it, and your civilization survives. So they watched Sirius, the dog star, rising before dawn. When it appeared, the flood came soon after. And with that, they built the world's first solar calendar, 365 days long. The same number glowing on your phone tonight began in mud and starlight. To them, it wasn't math. It was Ma'at, the cosmic order. Without order, chaos. Without the right timing, death. Some calendars even had empty days, cursed, sacred, or neither. Days that belonged to no month. It's funny, even when we tried to cage time, we left cracks for mystery to leak through. Maybe you still have those too. Days between plans, hours you can't name, Moments that don't belong anywhere but feel the most alive. Meanwhile, halfway around the world, emperors in China begin rewriting the heavens to match their rule. Each dynasty recalibrates the calendar, each ruler declaring, "He who controls time controls the people." They weren't being poetic, they were stating policy. And far away in Mesoamerica, the Maya carve spinning stone calendars, time wheels so precise modern astronomers still bow to them. But their time isn't a straight line. It loops, cycles upon cycles, endings that are beginnings again. They didn't fear time running out. They feared forgetting to restart it. Somewhere, centuries later, a physicist will rediscover their secret. The universe might not end. It might inhale and exhale forever. But back then, no one talked about entropy. They talked about gods. Because the moment we learned to count the sky, we stopped worshiping its beauty and started obeying its rhythm. And in that rhythm came the oldest conflict humanity still carries. When you measure something to control it, it starts controlling you. You glance up. The stars burn cold above you. Billions of suns ignoring your calendar. The universe doesn't age. It transforms. Only humans age, because only humans believe in time. The Romans will someday invent the calendar we still live by, but for now, you're standing in the first breath of measurement. A bone, a line, a moon, a mark, a bargain with eternity. You feel it deep down. The instant you name a moment, you lose it, but you also keep it forever. That's the trade. That's the magic. That's the trap. So, as you breathe beneath this ancient sky, remember, the first humans didn't invent time to understand the universe. They invented it to survive it. And in doing so, they gave birth to the illusion that still owns you. If you're still awake, loosen your grip on the seconds. We're only beginning to slip through the lie.
The heat is unbearable. Sand ripples beneath your feet, shimmering like glass. And before you rise the temples of ancient Egypt, colossal stone lungs breathing the illusion of eternity. The priests move in silence, faces hidden, linen robes trailing across the floor. They gather around a tall obelisk whose shadow crawls across the courtyard like a living creature. They aren't watching the sun, they're watching time. When that shadow touches a mark, farmers sow grain. Another mark, they pray. Another, they kneel. They believe the gods are moving the world forward 1 inch of shadow at a time. But the truth is crueler. The gods aren't moving. The earth is. And the priests, they've just discovered the power of synchronization. The pharaoh doesn't need to shout to rule. He only needs the rhythm. When the light hits stone, life obeys. If the shadow falters, the kingdom panics. Egyptian timekeeping began as devotion, but evolved into domination. Only the rich had the luxury to count hours. Farmers worked by hunger, not clocks. Slaves labored by daylight, not sundials. Time, even then, was a privilege.
You can almost hear it, the whisper of control in the rustle of papyrus, the silent ticking of shadow and fear. Time becomes the invisible whip, no chains required. Here's a curious fact. Egyptians divided daylight into 12 parts. Not because 12 was sacred, but because they used the joints on their fingers to count. 12 joints per hand, 24 hours total. Human anatomy became the template for eternity. You imagine a scribe raising his hand to the sky, declaring, "This is the day." And with that gesture, we were shackled to the clock forever. But even their precision was flawed. Clouds erased the sun, sandstorms swallowed shadows. So they built water clocks, bowls with small holes at the bottom, dripping steadily through the night. Each drop an hour, each hour a prayer. Time, in its infancy, was still leaky. When the temperature changed, the drip changed. Some nights lasted longer. Some gods slept late. But no one dared question the sacred clock, because to doubt time was to doubt the pharaoh himself. Egypt thrived for centuries on this ritual of rhythm, and yet hidden inside its perfection was terror. Because if the sun ever failed to rise, so would the empire. The illusion held until one day it didn't. You blink and the desert becomes marble. Columns replace pyramids. The gods are gone, replaced by men who dare to question the sky. You're standing on a Greek hillside now, beside two philosophers who can't agree on anything, except that you're late. Heraclitus, staring at the river, mutters, "You can't step into the same river twice." Parmenides smirks, "There is no river, there is only being." They're arguing over something the pharaoh would have burned them for, whether time moves at all. Heraclitus believes everything flows, that time is the current of existence. Parmenides believes everything already is, that time's motion is a trick of perspective. And suddenly you see it, the same battle repeating across millennia. The priests measured time to control others. The philosophers questioned it to understand themselves. Modern physics will later call it the block universe, a theory that says all moments exist at once. Your birth, your breakfast, your death, frozen in the same eternal frame. Nothing moves but your consciousness, sliding like a flashlight beam across space-time. So maybe Heraclitus and Parmenides were both right. You are both the river and the stillness beneath it. The Egyptians used shadows to prove the gods were awake. The Greeks used thought to prove reality was an illusion. Different eras, same obsession. You look at your reflection in the polished marble. The sun has set, yet somehow it still shines. You're no longer sure which moment you belong to, or if belonging itself is just another illusion of time. The philosophers return to their debate, and you drift away, caught between two truths that have never stopped fighting. Because deep down, you feel it too. You don't move through time. Time moves through you.
The marble crumbles to dust. You open your eyes to rain-slicked stone, to chanting voices and the toll of a bell echoing across the valley.
You're in a monastery now, the empire long fallen, the philosophers long dead. Here, men in robes rise and bow not to the sun, but to rhythm itself. They do not watch shadows anymore, they listen. The bell rings, deep and resonant. It calls the monks to prayer, to work, to rest. Each sound divides the day into obedience. Before this age, people lived by instinct, the crowing of roosters, the tilt of light, the ache of hunger. Now, a schedule tells them when to breathe. You follow the monks through narrow corridors into a room lined with parchment and flame. In the corner sits a contraption of gears and weights, the horologium. It ticks softly, measuring not hours, but holiness. Every few hours the bell rings again. Matins, lauds, prime, terce, sext, none, vespers, compline. The entire day sliced into divine precision. And though it sounds serene, something darker hums beneath the silence. They've taken infinity and chopped it into obedience. What once belonged to nature now belongs to discipline. You watch a young monk oiling the gears, whispering a prayer as he works. He believes he's tending to God's rhythm. He doesn't know he's building capitalism. For the first time, the human day can be owned, measured, replicated, sold. It starts here, in candlelight. One monk argues that this ticking is holy symmetry. Another whispers that it's heresy, man trying to measure what only God should control. No one wins the argument, but the bell rings anyway, and that settles it. The monastery becomes the world's first factory. Prayer shifts, work shifts, meal shifts, all by clock. Even silence runs on schedule. And soon kings will copy them, so will merchants, and so will you. You can feel the lineage in your own life. Alarms, meetings, reminders, all descended from that bell. Every calendar notification is a prayer recast as productivity. The Greeks asked what time is. The Romans asked what it's for. But the monks, they made time something you serve. You close your eyes and hear the rhythm. A tick for prayer, a tick for work, a tick for death. And somewhere deep in that order, a rebellion begins. Because while the monks were building clocks, the merchants outside were building a new god entirely. A god that pays in gold, not grace. If you're still here, breathe. You're doing better than most monks ever could. They tried to master time by worshiping it. You're about to see when humanity starts to sell it. You wake to the clang of iron, the murmur of trade, the smell of sweat and spice. The monastery bells are gone, replaced by the metallic heartbeat of commerce. You're standing in a medieval marketplace. Somewhere between Florence and Bruges, coins clink like seconds falling from heaven. And high above it all looms a clock tower, new, gleaming, and loud enough to drown the divine. This is where time stops being sacred and starts being profitable. A merchant weighs gold beneath that tower's shadow. He checks the clock and says, "Meet me after the 10th hour." A sentence that would have made no sense a century earlier. Because for the first time in history, time has a price tag. It can be traded, lost, spent,
saved. It can make you rich or ruin you. In the old world, you harvested when wheat ripened. Now you harvest when the clock says so. The seasons still change, but the bell decides when you may notice. You wander between stalls, past traders shouting and scribes counting. A banker sketches numbers in a ledger, inventing something dangerous: interest. The idea that waiting itself should earn money, that time is value, that patience pays. He's not wrong, but he's not right either. Because the moment you sell hours, you start buying anxiety. Everywhere you turn, metal ticks. Pocket watches for nobles, gears for guilds. Time has escaped the monastery and entered the bloodstream of the city. Apprentices hammer by the hour. Contracts expire by the bell. And late becomes sin. Historians still debate whether this was progress or the quiet death of freedom. Because the clock didn't just regulate life, it invaded it. One craftsman, slamming his tools down, mutters, "There's never enough time." He doesn't know he's the first human in history to mean that literally. In Florence, merchants build clock towers taller than cathedrals. In London, they pay clockmakers more than priests. In Ghent, fleets of ships synchronize their sails by bells. Time becomes the empire's nervous system. And yet, a voice breaks the noise. An old woman selling herbs laughs at a merchant scolding her for wasting time. She says, "Time's only wasted when you're chasing it," then sells him nothing and smiles. That laugh carries through centuries, because deep down everyone feels it. The unease of being owned by the seconds you thought you owned. By nightfall, the square glows with firelight. The last bell rings. Workers stop. But their rest is rationed too. Even dreams now come with schedules. You lean against a wall and watch the moon rise above the clock face. The hands move. The crowd sleeps. But you realize the bell doesn't mark faith or freedom anymore. It marks profit. And you can't help but wonder, did we invent clocks to make life easier? Or to make humans easier to manage? If you're still awake, congratulations. You've already broken the first law of the merchant's world. You're off schedule. Let's see how long you can stay there.
The night dissolves into thunder. You open your eyes inside a dim stone chamber, smelling of ink and metal. Outside, lightning flickers over tiled roofs. Inside, a man drops a tiny lead ball down a ramp, again and again. Each time it rolls, it takes the same number of heartbeats to reach the end. And in that repetition, the universe gives up one of its secrets. You're standing beside Galileo Galilei. He doesn't know it yet, but he's turning faith into physics. He's not chasing time for religion or trade. He's chasing truth, and discovers by accident that truth has rhythm. The monks measured hours by bells. The merchants measured profit by bells. But Galileo, he measures the universe itself by the swing of a pendulum. The pendulum doesn't pray, or hurry, or sleep. It moves with unbroken patience, back and forth, like a god that doesn't need believers. Later, Newton will perfect this idea, carving it into cold law. Absolute, true, and mathematical time, of itself and from its own nature, flows equably without relation to anything external. There it is, time as pure object, eternal, impartial, divine in its precision, every tick identical, every moment equal. The monks once said, time belongs to God. Newton says, time belongs to math. And somehow, that's even more terrifying. Because if time flows equably, who's holding the clock? You walk through London a century later, where workshops echo with metallic whispers. Men polish gears the size of fingernails, their breath fogging glass. They're building chronometers, clocks so precise they can find longitude at sea. Empires rise by seconds now. A ship off by a minute can vanish into fog and never return. So kings fund timekeeping like war, because, in a way, it is war. John Harrison, hunched over his wooden masterpiece, labors for decades to make a clock that won't fail on ocean waves. When it finally works, Britain rules the seas. And for the first time in history, time becomes territory. Every invention, every equation, every pendulum tick is a flag planted in reality itself. Science believes it has tamed the infinite. But look closer. The pendulum isn't moving through time. It's measuring its own illusion. The same equations that describe gravity now dictate labor. The same perfection that keeps planets in orbit keeps factory workers chained to schedules. And yet there's beauty in the precision, the poetry of a cosmos that keeps perfect time even when humans can't. Still, a small question flickers in the back of your mind. If all this order comes from motion, who gave motion its meaning? If everything flows in rhythm, what plays the first note? Galileo leans back from his experiment, smiling faintly. The lead ball rolls again, unbothered by your questions. It will reach the bottom every time, whether or not you believe in seconds. You exhale, feeling the gears of history clicking forward, mechanical and merciless. And yet, you can't help but sense it. The universe was never a machine. Humans made it one. Because control feels safer than mystery. And what's more controllable than counting? So, if your heartbeat's still steady, keep it there. You'll need it, because the next age will teach humanity what happens when the machines start counting back.
The quiet tick of Galileo's pendulum fades into the shriek of steam. You open your eyes to smoke, iron, and heat. It's the 19th century, and the world has learned how to move faster than the sun. You're standing in a factory courtyard. Coal dust paints the air. A whistle screams. Doors slam open and workers flood inside like clockwork ants. Time has changed again. It is no longer sacred or scientific. It is mechanical, industrial, relentless. Before this age, you rose with light and slept with dark. Now you rise with the bell and sleep when it lets you. A foreman checks his pocket watch, a gleaming symbol of authority. The gears inside it are more precise than the beating hearts of the men he commands. In this new religion, lateness is sin, efficiency is prayer, and salvation, productivity. Every whistle marks a shift, every hour a quota, every second a debt. Factories sprout clock towers not as decoration, but as control. Public time, shared time, a rhythm every human must obey. Somewhere, a miner wipes soot from his face and mutters, "We don't own the clock owns us." The men laugh, but it's not really a joke. In another part of town, trains thunder across the landscape, connecting cities that once lived at their own pace. But the rails don't just move goods, they synchronize people. If the 7:15 leaves early, the world collapses. If it leaves late, chaos spreads. And so, time becomes law. Here's a strange detail. Some factory whistles were designed to sound like church bells. The owners understood that people still obeyed reverence more easily than reason. So they gave the machine a holy tone. The monks once said, "The bell calls you to God. Now it calls you to labor." The calendar is filled with new rituals, shifts, deadlines, paydays. The rhythm of prayer replaced by the rhythm of profit. And in the smoky heart of the city, a new kind of anxiety is born, the fear of wasted time. Before, time passed like weather. Now it bleeds like money. Poets write about lost hours. Workers count the seconds until relief. Inventors promise to save time as if it's something that can be kept in a jar. But the more they try to save it, the more it disappears. The whistle blows again, sharper, hungrier. Children hurry to their posts, small hands built for tiny gears. The machines roar like gods that demand worship through repetition. This is the true genius of industrialization. It didn't just build machines, it turned people into them. And you can feel it deep in your own life. Every notification, every calendar alert, every "you're late" is a modern echo of that whistle. Still, a few voices whisper rebellion. A worker refuses overtime. A poet throws away his watch. A lover stays in bed a little longer. For a moment, they stop time, not by magic, but by disobedience. You step outside as dusk settles over the factory town. The sky burns orange, the towers glow, and the whistle's echo fades into silence. For a heartbeat, it feels like the old world again, unmeasured, imperfect, alive. But the clock tower looms behind you, its face unblinking. Because even in rest, the gears never stop turning. If you're still here, it means you've kept pace. But don't get comfortable. The next train runs on seconds. And soon, so will you.
You blink, and the factory haze turns into open sky, sliced by wires and smoke trails. The train roars past your face, a streak of iron and thunder. Its wheels bite the rails like the heartbeat of progress itself. You check your pocket watch, 2:07 p.m., but the man next to you says it's 1:53. Someone else swears it's 2:15. And suddenly, the future has a problem. When railroads connected the world, they broke time. Before trains, every town lived in its own rhythm.
Noon was when the sun stood highest, simple, natural, local. But when locomotives began racing across countries, local noon became chaos. Each station had its own clock, its own truth. Arrive on time in one city and you're late in the next. Trains demanded something unthinkable, the synchronization of reality. And so began the quietest war humanity ever fought, a war to decide what now means. In 1840, British Railways enforced railway time, aligning all clocks to the Royal Observatory in Greenwich. London's noon became everyone's noon, and with that, time was colonized. Imagine it, farmers staring at their church clocks being adjusted by men with telescopes. Entire communities watching the sun climb too early or too late because someone hundreds of miles away said so. They didn't agree easily. Cities rebelled, towns refused. One even declared, "We keep God's time, not the railroads." But resistance failed, because the train never waits. And so by the late 1800s, the entire world bowed to a single logic. The planet must be divided into 24 slices, time zones, each one a neatly packaged hour. Each one a piece of human life cut to fit the gears of global commerce. It sounds civilized, scientific even, but beneath the symmetry, there's something unsettling. The sun no longer decides what time it is. We do. We invented zones not to understand the Earth, but to dominate it. And that's the irony. In mastering time, we became its servants. Telegraphs spread the standard faster than any army could. Factories synchronized, banks aligned, armies moved by the second. It was order, absolute and mechanical. But for the first time, time became political. You can see it even now. Entire nations arguing over daylight savings, governments manipulating clocks to save power, to save money, to save face. We no longer track time, we legislate it. The concept of jet lag doesn't exist yet, but it's coming. Because soon humans will travel faster than their minds can comprehend, and time will start to fracture inside them. You sit beside the rails as another train screams past. Its shadow cuts through the field like a black blade. And you realize this is the moment when time stopped belonging to nature, to God, or even to reason. It belongs to speed. The faster we move, the more we distort the clock we worship. And soon we'll learn that time isn't a straight line at all. It's elastic. It bends, it stretches, it shatters. You lean back, watching the sun dip below the horizon. But somewhere far away, it's already tomorrow. And somewhere else, yesterday still lingers. The train's whistle fades into silence. You exhale, and for a fleeting instant, you realize how fragile now really is. Because when you can't agree on what time it is, you can't agree on what's real either. The whistle fades into static. The fields dissolve into light. You open your eyes to the hum of electricity and the flicker of a single incandescent bulb. You're in the 20th century now, the first century where humanity no longer obeys the sun at all. Factories never sleep, cities glow all night. And for the first time in human history, darkness doesn't mean rest. The clock, once divine, once mechanical, has become digital. Glowing, humming, omnipresent. A heartbeat of civilization you can't escape. But somewhere in a quiet patent office in Switzerland, a man named Albert Einstein sits at his desk, and with a few sentences, he detonates everything humanity ever believed about time. Time is relative. Those 3 words don't sound like much, but they kill Newton's godlike clock in one stroke. Because if time is relative, it's not absolute. It's personal. It's different for you, for me, for everyone, depending on how we move through the universe. If you travel fast enough, time slows down. If you fall into gravity's embrace, time stretches. Clocks on mountaintops tick faster than those in the valleys. And suddenly, centuries of order shatter. The priests, the merchants, the scientists, all of them built their worlds on the idea that time flows evenly for everyone. But Einstein whispers, no, it doesn't. You stare at your watch, but it's lying to you, because your now might already be someone else's then. It's unsettling, isn't it? To realize that simultaneity, the very idea that we share this moment together, is an illusion. The faster you go, the more the universe distorts around you. The closer you are to mass, the slower your seconds drip. Even your heartbeat is a localized phenomenon, unique to your trajectory through space-time. Time has lost its throne. And yet, instead of freeing humanity, relativity drives us to chase the clock harder than ever. Factories use it to refine precision. Wars use it to coordinate death. Economies use it to measure speed, not wisdom. But in the background, something new begins to hum. A technology that doesn't just measure time, it consumes it. Electric light makes night optional. Radio and television synchronize millions of minds to the same second. And when the first satellites rise into orbit, atomic clocks aboard them whisper down to Earth, defining a time so accurate it almost seems divine again. A single second, now measurable to within billionths. A second defined not by motion or shadow or rotation, but by vibration, the heartbeat of an atom. So here we are, full circle. We started with priests watching the sun move across stone. Now we watch cesium atoms tick inside satellites. Different temples, same faith. But as technology tightens its grip again, something ancient slips through the cracks again. A familiar anxiety, not about death or destiny, but about running out of time. It's ironic. Einstein proved time bends, stretches, even stops. But the more we learned that time is elastic, the more rigidly we began to live by it. We've built lives like schedules carved in stone, when the universe itself flows like water. Einstein once joked that the distinction between past, present, and future is only a stubborn illusion. But he also admitted it's a persistent one. You can't escape it. Even knowing the truth doesn't free you from the tick. You stand now in a world where time zones, deadlines, relativity, and electricity all coexist, a symphony of seconds pretending to be absolute. And beneath it, a quiet hum, the sound of the human soul asking, if time is fake, why does it still hurt to lose it?
You blink, and suddenly the ticking stops. No gears, no pendulums, no hands gliding in a slow, patient circle. Only digits, glowing, silent, absolute. It's the late 20th century, and the clock has gone cold. You're surrounded by screens, wristwatches that blink instead of tick, machines that hum without rhythm. The heartbeat of civilization no longer sounds like a clock tower. It's a soft, invisible pulse running beneath everything. Electric time doesn't echo, it invades. The old world measured seconds with sound, chimes, bells, gears, heartbeats. Now time has lost its voice. It's everywhere and nowhere, slipping into microwaves, modems, stock exchanges, atomic pulses. You reach for your digital alarm clock. 12 o'clock flashes in its corner, clean and empty, numbers without substance. But the real shift isn't just how time looks, it's how it feels. Once, people were bound by daylight. Now, light itself is permanent. The city glows at 3 a.m., the highway hums, and somewhere on the other side of the planet, someone is waking up just as you try to sleep. Midnight is no longer universal. It's an opinion. And yet, instead of liberating us, this new freedom fractures us. We start chasing a kind of time that never ends. Emails at 2 a.m., calls from tomorrow's time zone, deadlines that exist simultaneously on 5 continents. The modern world has achieved the impossible. It killed waiting. Everything happens now. And somehow, that feels worse. You scroll through a digital clock on your screen, milliseconds ticking by in real time, smooth and indifferent. It's mesmerizing, like watching sand pour endlessly through an invisible hourglass. But your body disagrees. It still runs on ancient time, the rhythm of hunger, fatigue, light, and dark. Biological time, the one we forgot. The clash between the two creates a new kind of suffering, not physical, but existential. Your body wants rest. The world demands presence. Psychologists call it temporal dissonance, the silent mismatch between the time you feel and the time you're told to obey. In this world, the seconds don't just pass, they accelerate. Not because they move faster, but because everything else does. Each innovation is sold as a way to save time. The washing machine, the airplane, the internet. And yet, no one ever ends up with more of it. That's because the machines never wanted to save your time. They wanted to consume it. The more efficient life becomes, the more you're expected to fill it. Every saved minute becomes an invitation to do more. The result? A quiet, universal exhaustion. You check the time not because you care, but because you're afraid of what you'll find. And just when you think the world can't get any faster, something new arrives, something that won't just measure time, but rewrite how it flows inside your mind. It doesn't tick, it scrolls. You open your phone, and suddenly hours dissolve into nothing. The clock doesn't even have to chase you anymore. You carry it in your hand.
You check it compulsively, not for the time, but for the illusion of movement. Because somewhere along the way, the human brain got addicted to microseconds of novelty. You're no longer counting seconds, you're counting dopamine. Every notification, every ping, every flicker of blue light, a digital rosary of modern faith. You think you're checking time, but time is checking you. And deep down, you know, something sacred has been lost. Because when you can summon the world with a touch, there are no beginnings, no endings. Just one continuous glowing now. A present that never sleeps. A time that never stops. The digital clock promised perfection, but what it really gave us was eternity. And eternity, it turns out, is unbearable.
The world flickers, and suddenly you're surrounded by light. Not sunlight, but screens. Billboards, phones, monitors, feeds. Each one glowing, whispering, pulling. Time isn't measured in seconds anymore. It's measured in scrolls. You swipe your thumb, one motion, one eternity. Somewhere, algorithms count the milliseconds you linger before moving on. Each pause is data. Each hesitation, a harvest. Welcome to the age where time is no longer money, it's currency, and you're the mint. Every second you spend staring at a screen is sold. Your time, your attention, your silence auctioned off to the highest bidder. You've heard the phrase "time is money" before, but here's the truth. Money doesn't measure value anymore. Time does. Your employer doesn't pay for your ideas, they pay for your hours. Social media doesn't sell your soul, it rents your attention. The economy of the 21st century isn't built on oil or gold. It's built on minutes, on how long you stay. And the masters of this new world know exactly how to trap you. They study your rhythms, how your pupils dilate when you see something new, how long before you grow bored, how to make you forget you were ever keeping time at all. Your ancestors once watched the stars to understand the seasons. Now you watch blue light to understand yourself. And the irony? The stars still move more slowly than your feed. A single second on the internet contains more information than your great-grandparents saw in a lifetime. And yet, none of it lasts. You scroll, you consume, you forget. The seconds dissolve behind you like footprints in a tide. Time has become entertainment, but you don't own it anymore. Even your calendar, once a sacred tool of control, now controls you. It pings, it vibrates, it demands. Meeting at 2, deadline at 4. Reminder, you're late. You're never truly late, of course. You just belong to someone else's schedule. And in this quiet slavery, humanity finds something darker than exhaustion: disconnection. You no longer feel the flow of time, just fragments of it. You exist in a blur of micro-moments, notifications, headlines, clips, replies, likes. Every app promises to save time, but none of them save you. Because what they're really doing isn't giving you seconds, it's taking your sense of duration. You don't know how long you've been here, how many hours have passed, or whether it's still night outside your window. Your brain, evolved for sunrise and sunset, is now trapped in an infinite dawn. The digital world erases the past the instant it happens and stretches the present until it breaks.
No one mourns the lost hour anymore because no one notices it's gone. And this is where the great paradox unfolds. The faster the world moves, the shorter life feels. And yet, the longer we live. You take a deep breath, set the phone down, and for the first time in what feels like years, you hear something ancient. The slow, patient rhythm of your own heart. That's the only clock left that can't be monetized. The one no algorithm can accelerate. It beats at the same pace as it did 1,000 years ago. Proof that somewhere beneath the noise, you still live in real time. But the question is, for how long? Because the next age won't just steal your attention. It will steal your perception of time itself. And when that happens, you won't even notice it's gone.
The screens fade. Silence returns, heavy, electric, almost sacred. You glance around and realize you're no longer standing in time. You're standing outside it. The digital glow dissolves into starlight. And for a moment, everything, every empire, every clock, every second is suspended in an eternal breath. This is the 21st century's quiet apocalypse. Time has stopped being linear. Once, life was a path: childhood, youth, work, rest, death. Now it's a loop, a feed, a cycle of refresh, update, repeat. You wake up and check the same headlines. You scroll the same arguments. You relive the same memories, digitally resurrected by on this day notifications. Yesterday returns daily, and the future never arrives. We've digitized memory, and in doing so, we've erased the very thing that gave time meaning: passing. Our ancestors feared time because it ended. We fear it because it doesn't. Every photo, every message, every trace of you online remains in suspended animation, a fossil that never ages. Even the dead scroll with us now. 1,000 years ago, a person vanished when they died. Now they linger in pixels, smiling forever in the false light of eternal presence. And yet you, the living, feel less alive. Because your mind, once a storyteller, has become a curator of fragments. Your memories no longer fade naturally. They're stored, replayed, monetized. Time doesn't erode them. It markets them. You once moved through time like a traveler. Now time moves through you like a feed. And it's breaking something primal. Psychologists are beginning to whisper about temporal collapse, the inability to perceive your life as a continuous story. You're left with pieces, moments, bursts. A notification becomes your sunrise. An algorithm becomes your compass. And slowly, the boundary between past, present, and future melts. Everything exists all at once, and nothing feels real. Einstein said time is an illusion, but he never had to live in one. Your ancestors' nights were marked by firelight. Yours are marked by a glowing rectangle that never lets you sleep. The stars still rise and fall, but you don't look up anymore. You scroll sideways. And yet, amid this collapse, something stirs. A rebellion of stillness.
You've seen it. People retreating to cabins, deleting apps, returning to gardens, to books, to silence. They aren't just escaping distraction. They're escaping temporal saturation, the overdose of now. They crave slowness not for peace, but for wait. Because in the rush toward endless presence, we forgot what presence meant. You close your eyes, the seconds stretch, the hum of electricity fades. For a fleeting moment, you feel what your ancestors felt, the pulse of real time, raw and unbroken. The air around you thickens with gravity, sound, and meaning. Each heartbeat becomes a universe, each breath a lifetime. You realize that all along you never moved through time. You moved through attention. Time wasn't flowing forward. You were falling deeper. And maybe that's what death is. Not an ending, but the final stillness of attention. The point where the illusion stops updating. The feed pauses, the scroll ends, and eternity begins to breathe again. But before you vanish into that quiet, you open your eyes one last time and wonder, if time is fake, why does it feel so real when it runs out?
The air trembles, faint, electric, infinite. You open your eyes not to a world, but to a fabric. A vast, dark ocean rippling with invisible tension. Welcome to the subatomic scale, where time isn't measured in seconds, but in possibilities. Physicists call it quantum time, and it doesn't tick, it flickers. Particles don't move smoothly from past to future. They stutter, vanish, and reappear. Reality isn't continuous, it's a slideshow, flickering billions of frames per second. And here's the unsettling part. Between those frames, nothing exists. Time, it turns out, might not be the river you thought it was. It's more like the film projector behind your life, and your consciousness, the light that makes it move. You drift closer. You can almost see the edges of the illusion, a thin, trembling shimmer where cause and effect blur. Physicists like Carlo Rovelli say time isn't fundamental, it's emergent, a side effect of perspective. Atoms don't know what a second is. Galaxies don't care what century it is. Only observers, like you, create the illusion of flow. Think about that. You're not moving through time. You're stitching it together. Your mind takes the static frames of reality and animates them, turning stillness into story, turning memory into motion. In this way, time doesn't exist. It's rendered, just like a computer graphic, calculated on demand, moment by moment, based on where your attention goes. You think you're remembering the past, but you're reconstructing it. You think you're predicting the future, but you're simulating it. And now? That's just the frame your consciousness happens to be focused on. It's humbling, isn't it? To realize that what you call the passage of time might just be your brain refreshing reality over and over again. Even at the cosmic scale, this illusion persists. Einstein's relativity shows that the universe doesn't flow, it exists. A frozen 4D structure,
Every event, every second, every thought, carved into the same eternal block. Physicists call it the block universe. And in it, your past and future are equally real, just different coordinates on the same map. You haven't been born or died. You are born, you are dead, simultaneously, forever. Time isn't a line, it's a landscape. And you're the traveler who mistakes direction for destiny. But then, something more radical appears on the horizon. In certain quantum interpretations, time doesn't even exist between particles. Only change exists. Only relationships. Only information swapping places. The universe doesn't care about duration. It only cares about difference. So maybe time is just the name we give to change we can feel. And if nothing changed, there'd be no time at all. You exhale slowly, letting the thought dissolve into quiet awe. The illusion of the clock, the fear of aging, the weight of memory, they all start to look less like destiny and more like a clever trick of perception. Maybe this is what mystics meant when they said, enlightenment is timeless. Because they weren't talking about eternity. They were talking about seeing through the projector. To stand still and realize that the film was never rolling. The monk's bell, the merchant's clock, the physicist's equation. All of them were fingers pointing at the same truth. Time doesn't move. You do. And when you finally stop, so does everything else. You drift upward, out of the fabric of atoms and equations, and return to something softer, yourself. The hum of cosmic mechanics fades, replaced by the rhythm of breath, the pulse in your wrist, the slow, deliberate blink of your eyes. This is the last real clock, the biological one. Long before civilizations carved hours or physicists shattered seconds, your body was already keeping time. It hums in cycles, dances in rhythms older than the moon. Your cells divide on schedule. Your hormones rise and fall with light. Even your mood follows a clock, the circadian rhythm, tuned to the rotation of the earth itself. Every morning when sunlight hits your eyes, your body resets. Every night, darkness unspools you back into stillness. Without that pattern, you unravel. Astronauts who float above the planet in endless daylight begin to hallucinate. Shift workers lose their sense of morning or meaning. Their internal clocks drift. Their biology untethers from reality. The body begins to prove what philosophy only guessed. Without rhythm, there is no sanity. You look down at your hand, the veins pulsing beneath skin, the gentle, ancient metronome of life. This, too, is a kind of time, but not one that marches or counts. It cycles. Your heart beats, not forward, but around. Birth to growth, growth to decay, decay to transformation. The human body has never cared for minutes or months. It understands only seasons. The season of hunger, the season of love, the season of death. Each one returns, never identical, never linear. And maybe that's the quiet secret hidden beneath all our clocks and equations. We built machines to measure something that was always inside us. When you were born, time began counting with your first breath. But it wasn't counting outward, it was counting inward. Every cell knows when it will divide, when it will rest, when it will end. Even now, as you listen, microscopic clocks are ticking inside you, oscillating molecules marking the dance between life and entropy. You're not in time, you are time. And when you die, the clock doesn't stop, it only resets. Your atoms scatter, your energy redistributes, and the great cycle continues. Somewhere, a newborn inhales their first breath, and the rhythm starts again. Perhaps that's the one truth older than the universe itself. Nothing ever truly ends. It only changes rhythm. Time, then, isn't an arrow or a circle. It's a heartbeat, expanding and contracting endlessly, breathing creation and decay into balance. And if you've ever sat in stillness long enough, you felt it, that subtle hum of the cosmos syncing with your pulse. That's not imagination. That's the body remembering its origin. Because deep in your bones, in your blood, in the fire of every mitochondrion, the same energy that once burned in the first stars still beats. That energy doesn't know what a second is, it only knows rhythm. And rhythm doesn't die, it only evolves. You close your eyes and listen to your heartbeat, steady, patient, indifferent to your deadlines. It doesn't care what day it is. It doesn't care what you've achieved. It doesn't care what the clock on your wall insists is now. It only knows that to live is to pulse between being and nothing, over and over again, until even that oscillation dissolves into silence. And perhaps that silence is not the end of time, but the return to its source.
It's quiet now. The centuries have fallen away. The clocks, the bells, the equations, the screens. You stand in the stillness between heartbeats. No ticking, no motion, no countdown. Just awareness. The world hasn't ended. It's just stopped pretending. You look around, and everything you thought was moving, the stars, the planets, even the light, is frozen in perfect symmetry. Every moment that ever existed, every birth, every death, every laugh, every loss, shining all at once, like constellations of memory. This is what mystics called the eternal now. The physicists called it the block universe. And poets, they called it home. Time, it turns out, was never something the universe did. It was something you perceived. A side effect of consciousness trying to make sense of change. You once thought you were falling through time, a small creature swept along a current toward its end. But here, at the still point, you see it clearly. You were the current all along. You created the past and future to give motion to meaning. You built clocks to prove you existed. You feared endings so you could cherish beginnings. You invented later so now could feel sacred. Without time, there is no story. Without story, there is no you. But what if the illusion was never the enemy? What if it was the language the universe used to teach you how to see? Because even if time isn't real, change is. Love still fades, stars still die, memories still ache, and maybe that's enough. Maybe time was never meant to be conquered or disproved, only understood. The first humans carved moons into bone. The priests read shadows. The scientists split seconds. The machines digitized eternity. And through all of it, one question endured. What is this thing that moves us? And why does it feel so alive? You look at your reflection in the cosmic dark. You're older, younger, infinite. A ripple of consciousness folded across eternity. And you understand, finally, that if time is fake, so is every boundary it drew, between you and others, between life and death, between beginning and end. There is no after. There is no before. There is only this, the endless unfolding of awareness, forever noticing itself. You exhale. The stars exhale with you. And for the first time, there's no separation between breath and universe, between second and soul. You are the clock. You are the pendulum. You are the silence between ticks. And in that silence, the illusion collapses, and something greater takes its place. Not time, not eternity, just being. So, before you drift into sleep, let the seconds dissolve. Let tomorrow wait. Let the illusion rest. Because everything you've ever been and everything you ever will be is already here. Always has been, always will be. Now.